Viewer discretion is advised. Your fave will be criticized.
That's Chris.
That's Jan.
And welcome to CCTV, the nonstop pop show.
And today we will be discussing JYP Entertainment's pop-tastic history and its upcoming girl group.
So, what is JYP Entertainment? It was founded in 1997 by Park Jin-young, who was a very popular singer in his own right in the 90s. JYP Entertainment is a South Korean entertainment company with a record label as well. With the success of Notorious Male Idol Reign, or V, the company quickly gained prominence and was known as part of the big three K-pop companies in the late 2000s, along with SM and YG.
And since then, the agency has had artists including 2PM, Day6, Stray Kids, and Extraordinary Heroes. But forget the men, because today we are focusing on the company's girl groups. Yes. But before we get into that, since JY Park was a singer himself and also produces much of his artists' music, the agency also has a signature sound and, of course, his producer tags. This is a JYP production.
Oh my God, right. He did use that. That's right. For the whisper.
JYP.
Oh man. I feel like that tag has evolved. It's been JYP. This is a JYP production. And then it was JYP introduces. Like it was just oh God, he was honestly like the Diddy of producer tags, you know. Like, and speaking of the sound, we're going to talk about the signature sound of JYP Entertainment. The idols that have trained under JYP learn the signature half air, half sound vocal style, and this results in a bright and emotive sound that permeates through all of its artists. And while the male idols and groups tended to have hip hop and R&B heavily repetitive hooks throughout every song, their range was very dramatic to light and bubbly. The girl groups kept those repetitive hooks, but often lean more towards retro influences, with ranges from extremely sassy and sexy to cute and bubbly. And I have to say, honestly, I've always liked the girl group sound more than the boy group sound. The music for the girl groups always felt more well thought out, in my opinion. I felt like there was more effort put forward. With boy groups, they always seem like evolved versions of each other. Hip hop, although a genre that JYP is heavily interested in. I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize this, but in his old company, he used to have like the building. He used to have a Bobby Brown room, a Michael Jackson room, named after Black artists. So he's always been influenced by hip hop and R&B, right? But I wouldn't say that hip hop is a genre that he should have been producing alone. I liked 2PM, okay? Ship jump up, jump, ship jump. We loved it. And GOT7 and Stray Kids is growing on me, but I just feel like those groups got better because other producers were brought in. But I mean, girl groups, they held it down. A little bit more thought went into the process, I think. What about you? How you feel about like JYP's whole sound overall?
I mean, so I've been a fan of many of the artists under JYP, but let's be honest here, vocals are not the priority when it comes to who ends up being chosen for these groups. I think he definitely does. He definitely focuses more just on general X factor. I think, you know, a pretty face, a decent ability to dance and perform, and the vocals. Well, as long as you have a couple in there that can carry the song, that's all you need. You know, that seems to kind of be consistent throughout all his groups, to be very honest. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's just his philosophy, right? When it comes to what he looks for in his groups. I don't love the vocal style though, to be honest. It's very throaty and very it always feels like they're pushing as hard as they can in a way
to emote.
And it just doesn't sound very natural. And it just sounds a little forced. So it's not my favorite stylistically, but at least the range has grown, at least now with more artists, I guess, being under his label. So
Right. I think the bigger he's gotten, I think he's had more of an opportunity to kind of, again, with GOT7 being like the reintroduction of 2PM, but having better sounds because they had different producers. I think the bigger that they get, the more their sound expands. I mean, Stray Kids, I couldn't even imagine JYP making songs like what Stray Kids are doing, right? But yeah, you know, speaking about that singing style, that half breath, half voice thing, I'm not a fan of it. I mean, he sings like that. That's the thing. JY Park sings like that.
You make me feel special. 세상이 아무리 날 주저앉혀도.
It's always been his singing style, that whole like and for him it's okay because it comes out like, okay, it just sounds really emotional. And people are like, wow, he really understands, like, you know, the quote unquote black sound, because it just sounded really like, you know, emotional and soulful. But I mean, he's always singing like in the mask of his voice, like all of the sound is forward and really nasally. He's like, no, 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 no. So you have groups like 2PM singing, they're doing runs, it's just like, oh no, 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 I'll be back. It's just very like, you know, in the front of their face.
Right. But the girls too, though. The girls do it too.
Yes. And it's gotten almost not worse, but I feel bad for the girls because the more time that passes, the less soulful the music becomes. Therefore, the more bright it becomes. So the more nasal it becomes. So the soft palates are really tight. And they have to sing up here and then push it out and then belt with every single muscle in their mouth being tight as hell and their jaws locked. Yeah. So again, it's not the most complimentary, not the most healthiest, not the most sustained vocal technique. I'm not a fan of it. And he has this thing where he always tries to make the male vocalist sound like him. Like Woo Young from 2PM, Jin Young from GOT7, and then he tried it with the Wonder Girls too. Like when he was like earlier records, because he was the main producer, because he was making the demos and the dances, they had to sound and look like him. So I'm not sure that's a good or bad thing, but I mean, it's why we're here to talk about all these girl groups, to talk about the evolution of the sound, the look, and to see how far it has come from those earlier, you know, JYP days.
Yes, exactly. And then predictions for this new one that's going to debut very soon as well. But let's go back to his first girl group, the Wonder Girls. So they debuted in 2007 and they had a sexy R&B concept with their first release, Irony. But after Hyuna left the group due to health reasons, trainee JYPn debuted 3 days later with the Wonder Girls to perform what would become their breakout hit, Tell Me. So this song cemented the group's signature sound as South Korea's retro queens. And that's because their music contains elements from the 60s through to the 80s. And they basically were huge. They reached commercial success, not just in South Korea, but they were the first South Korean girl group to enter the Billboard Hot 100 in 2009 with their song Nobody, when it charted at number 76. And with that song, they also were the first K-pop group to make a US television debut on So You Think You Can Dance and Wendy Williams as well. So after another lineup change, a successful US tour with 2PM, and more success in South Korea, the Wonder Girls released a made-for-TV movie on Nickelodeon. It also released English songs, including The DJ Is Mine, featuring the Schoolgirls. I don't know who they are either. And Like Money, featuring Akon. And then finally, after a 3-year hiatus, a few members from across the timeline reunited to release a couple more projects from 2015 through 2017 before finally disbanding.
Right.
So, are you a fan of the Wonder Girls?
Yeah, totally. This was my first girl group, right? I got into K-pop. It was Boa, Taeyang, Big Bang, Shiny, and then I was like, "Whoa, who are these girls?" And it was the Wonder Girls. And I remember seeing "Tell Me," the music video for "Tell Me," with Sohee dressed as Wonder Woman, and then I remember watching police officers covering this dance at the time. Like those were the first couple covers I've ever seen in my life. I was like, why are people covering this? Like I didn't even know what a cover was at the time. Like this is before covers became so saturated. But yeah, it was so interesting to see how this song took people by storm. And again, it's kind of one of those things where it's like people clown JYP now, but again, he produced this, he arranged this, he choreographed it essentially. you know, there is footage of this man in his apartment choreographing this. And I remember like this being a huge thing. I mean, I love the Wonder Girls. I actually auditioned for JYP back in 2017 with Be My Baby.
Yes. Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah. What about you? Do you like the group? Jesus.
Yeah, you know, I have to say, I remember their US promo so well. Like seeing an Asian girl group on television, you know, like that was insane. Like I don't think fans now are so spoiled. You guys have no idea how crazy it was to even have someone even know of anything in K-pop, you know, and so to have the exposure that they did, and you know, to have like a American record label and everything, that was groundbreaking. Like that was absolutely awesome to see. So while I love Nobody. Yeah, I absolutely love Nobody. I don't love what eventually they ended up doing though. Like I thought the Nickelodeon movie was terrible. I did not like the 2 English songs. I like the Korean songs. Like I liked Be My Baby and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, it just I didn't love what I guess the A&Rs and stuff in the US ended up trying to turn them into. It just didn't really work. But but yeah, but seeing kind of their overall attempt and everything, it was amazing. Like people, you need to credit them. They really were like, they really were the first to really try. And and they made a lot of headway. People still remember Nobody, you know? And so yeah. Also, I just want to mention, they did do this like band concept when they returned after that hiatus. While you could tell none of them were masters at their instruments, I appreciated their attempt to be something new, and some of the songs like Why So Lonely, they're really good. So I'm a fan, and a lot of the members have since gone on to do some really cool solo stuff too. So
indeed. Yeah, I agree with you. I honestly, I feel like this group vocally were probably they had 2 good singers, Yenny and Sunny, excuse me.
Yes.
When Sunmi left and then came back, it was just like a big thing. So yeah, I think this is one of the groups I've seen so many member changes but still be successful. I think that what really kind of slowed them down was going to America, and they lost the kind of momentum they had because Girls' Generation had released G. But I mean, for the most part, they did pretty good, and it wasn't a bad premier girl group for JYP. But I have to say, the next group, oh honey, absolutely amazing. Introducing Miss A, a 4-member group which consisted of 2 Korean and 2 Chinese members. Hayden from the Wonder Girls was actually supposed to debut with this group, but ended up replacing Sunmi. So that's how we ended up with the 4. And this group focused on an electro pop and R&B in their discography, and their lyrics are full of that girl power sentiment. Oh my goodness. And they debuted in July 2010 with their single Bad Girl, Good Girl. God, I love this song.
Yes.
And Miss A received first place on KBS Music Bank, becoming the fastest girl group to take the #1 spot on a music show at that time, and held the spot for a month, breaking the previous record set by SNSD. And with the huge success in Korea and in China, the group racked up a ton of hits, including Goodbye Baby, and then I Don't Need a Man, and the critically acclaimed Hush, which has been covered very poorly by numerous girl groups and on survival reality shows. Kiss, kiss, baby, hush, 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 baby, don't go 가까이 날 꼭 안아줘. Give it to me, oh, come to me, oh, give it to me, oh, 비밀스러운 party. And their music video for their final single, Only You, in March 2015, has over 97 million views on their YouTube, which is a huge feat for a second-gen girl group, especially the last song, you know? So what did you think about Miss A as a group? And,
I love Miss A so much. I remember, so right when I was getting into K-pop was when Goodbye Baby was released. And it was everything. Wow. That song is so good. And of course, they just like quickly became one of my favorite girl groups at the time. They're just the perfect balance of like sassy and sexy, but like not over the top, you know?
Right.
And I think honestly because they were like half Chinese, I actually did feel like a deeper connection to that. Kind of seeing that was cool for me. So yeah, God, their discography is just, it's so good. It's so sad seeing how few singles they've actually released during their active years. But all of them are so good. Touch is up there. Hush is up there. Like, honestly, it's so good. Like, I still have these songs on my playlists now. I still send these videos to my friends now. You know, it's really stood the test of time, and there's no one that's really kind of taken the lane that they've gone in K-pop, even still now. So,
you know, I think it was a different era then too, because the whole thing with K-pop, like, we do call it the golden era. I mean, second gen was really kind of, that's when YouTube was popping up. You know, I even sent somebody Goodbye Baby. She was like, oh, here's dubstep. I was like, well, here is K-pop. And she used to come to me and swing her arms and do the dance for the Goodbye Baby. But yeah, I think at the time it was more focused on the feminine aspect of girl groups. So that means putting them in heels, putting them in the little sneaker wedges, you know, tights, leotards. I think that's what really set them apart. And I think what also made them different was that the fact that they did have those two Chinese members. It's like K-pop, but these girls are Chinese. But honey, you couldn't tell Faye and Gia nothing. They could dance their booties off. Okay.
Yes.
Oh my God, they were scary good. And I think at the time they were going to be like a little Chinese Wonder Girls, which is why Hayden was there too. But yeah, I mean, they were so talented. It was undeniable. And I remember their second single, Breathe, as being one of my favorite from their debut. Their dance showed how athletic and how stable their vocals were. Like, you could hear them gasping in the microphones. You know what I'm saying? Like, people like, oh my God, monster rookies. No, these girls were not playing. Men was trained for like what, damn near 10 years in America, I think. You know, the two Chinese members were freaking awesome, flexible, athletic, talented. It's just the range in this group was really scary, but everyone filled a role. It wasn't just like, hey, here's a big group of people, here's a sub vocal. Even Suzy got better as she got older. You know, so it's one of those, they're one of those groups that were so solid in the beginning and got better. They're almost like a Shiny to me. They stayed together, they made it work. Whatever happened on the inside, we don't know, but when they went on stage, it was tight, and they were just beyond good. And I think we won't ever see it again, because no one wants to be that sexy, fierce group without being like, oh, let me show my cleavage, let me show my yams. You know, there's a way to teeter it, but I don't feel like a lot of the third gen, fourth gen groups are able to do that, and I don't know why. But
interesting.
Hey, different time.
Yeah, I am quite sad that they didn't continue, because can you imagine how fierce they would be now? Like, it would be like if the Pussycat Dolls, you know, didn't break up, but they just, you know, if they kept going.
What? That's why their concept was like that. The Pussycat Dolls, the ballet bars, the leg extensions. Go ahead.
Except all four of them could sing.
Could do it.
That was the other thing, was I do think, I don't know if maybe it was because like they were trained. I don't know. Like, I don't know what it was, but like vocally, actually, they actually all can carry it. And they actually do all sound, they don't all do like the breathy thing.
No.
As
not
much.
At all.
So it's not as much there. But it is a shame that they never really reached their full potential, I think. And I think that was due to politics like within the group. Also maybe not being prioritized as much within JYP. And that would seem to stay consistent with this next girl group as well. So the next one we're going to talk about is 15 and. Is that how you actually say it?
Yeah, 15 and, because it represents their ages and their ability to become better.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I remember reading of this name, but I've heard like one song. I like they really didn't make much impact on me at the time. But so this was a duo. It consisted of Park Ji-min, who's now known as Jamie, who was the winner of the competition show K-Pop Star, and Baek Yerin, a trainee and contestant on the show Star King. And the two of them debuted with an R&B tinged ballad called I Dream on October 5th, 2012. And they focused mostly on vocals. They didn't really dance. They just kind of stood there and sang live and did their thing. And their songs were inspired by R&B, soul, and pop. So they had 5 singles with varying success through their career and eventually disbanded due to differences in the type of music that they each wanted to pursue. So yeah, what do you think of 15 and?
You know, I liked them because I remember seeing Jamie, I can't do this. I remember seeing Jamie on the show and I thought, oh wow, she's average sized. Oh my goodness. To be honest with you, I think for a couple of years, like they were the first, maybe I'm tripping. I remember there was a group called Piggy Dolls, but they weren't part of a big group. I mean, a big company.
Yeah.
They were the first quote unquote average size, quote unquote plus size singers signed to a major label other than Shindong from Suju. Like, but female wise, we had not seen that. And I don't remember them getting criticized too much for their weight. I mean, of course it's inevitable, like people are going to say something, but because they were so talented, it was always like they can sing their faces off. What can you do? You know? So I remember Jamie had a British accent at the time, but now she's all hood. Sounds like a whole Twitter thread. But she always could sing. She has great vocal control. And so did Yedin. Yedin was like, she was scary good. I think they called her like an R&B genius at the time when she was on Star King. Like their vocal technique, because they did not train in JYP, was, no offense, but it was better developed. And their technique was really good for being 15-year-olds and then like 16, 17. It was pretty good. And then the fact that they were harmonizing, very atypical. Like we're used to like Mamamoo, maybe a Spica here and there, whatever era you were growing up in. Yeah, sure. But like a big company with actual singers who kind of just jigged a little bit. It was impressive. I think now they sound good doing their own thing because they know what their sound is. But even when they were together and still trying to figure it out, they were pretty solid. And their songs were actually good. Kind of sounded like Wonder Girls, but just had a fresher approach and a stronger vocal technique.
Yeah, I did go through their singles in preparation for this. And yeah, they really do have great voices. The soul is much more genuine here in comparison to the other JYP groups we're talking about today. And yeah, it's just nice. It's refreshing to have, you know, a group that is focused on vocals. I will admit I did watch a couple performances and the chemistry is definitely not there between the two. Like they barely even look at each other. Like they kind of just pretend the other one's not even there, you know, like they're it almost is like no one knew how to even stage direct them if they didn't have choreography. So they went the extreme and just kind of stand there with no stage presence. So that's not great. But I agree. It's a shame I didn't really hear much about them when they were active. But yeah, I appreciate some of their material that I've heard more recently. They really do have great voices. So it's a shame that they didn't do too much together.
Around this time, I really speaking back on your like chemistry note, I really do wish that they did have more chemistry. But around this time, it was like a really slow kind of thing for JYP. I know they had GOT7, so they were really focused on that, right? But like they had another female singer, Aeon. They had her. She was a good singer too, but she wasn't like K-pop. She kind of was just a sit there and sing kind of ballad singer.
Yeah.
You know, I have one of her songs on my playlist called So. It's like one of my favorites. But yeah, they were kind of hitting the lull. It was almost to the point where people were just like, at this point, JYP's just got a boy group. And what girl group? Miss A wasn't getting pushed. What else was next? But then he announced a reality show called 16 and introduced his new group twice. So we have a Pop 101 episode about the Nation's Girl Group where we discuss their whole artistry and discography coming out very shortly as of this release. So be sure to check it out. But getting back to what we were talking about, this group focuses primarily on bubblegum pop songs, with their cheerful songs center around love, and they are known for integrating modern internet culture and references into their releases. So I think this was different because we had retro sounds, R&B, but now we're going more toward pop, the color pink, you know? And TWICE rose to domestic fame in 2016 with their single Cheer Up, and have become the biggest K-pop girl group of this generation, with global viral hits including TT, Fancy, Feel Special, and many more. And in 2020, TWICE became the K-pop girl group with the most music show wins, totaling 106 wins, so 106.
Yeah.
I said 100. 106 in Park, 106 in JY Park, and they are the fastest girl group to reach that amount. So that's really impressive. You make me feel special. And I have to say, I am a fan. But what about you? After we did our Pop 101 and even before then, what did you think about them as a group?
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of most of TWICE's discography. I do mention in the episode that you guys will check out later that I'm not as huge a fan of the super cutesy stuff. When it comes to girl groups, I prefer the fiercer, sassier stuff. So most of their discography is not really for me, but it is undeniably catchy, and it's amazing to see how much they've accomplished. Like the fact that they've now have a American record deal. They've done worldwide sold out tours and arenas and stuff, and it's just been really cool kind of seeing their growth and how much they've been able to get their name out there for people who didn't know K-pop. So
yes,
truly impressed. I will say vocally, there's a lot of sub vocals here. I think this goes back to my point that JYP really focuses more on overall X factor and presence and stuff, and vocals are not number one. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think especially as they've developed, they kind of now know where each girl sits and how best to kind of help their voices. But that hasn't stopped, people from noticing that
the weaknesses.
The weaknesses. Yeah, exactly.
I agree. I think one of my biggest pet peeves about fans sometimes, and even this group, is that there hasn't been great vocal development with them. I don't see them training. I don't even hear them really kind of just messing around, really. It's all them playing really safe. I haven't heard anyone get vocally stronger in this group, honestly. I'm a fan. I'm going to their concert in February, excuse me. I'm a fan. So I can honestly say I'm not saying they didn't get better and choose better songs that fit their vocals. I just wish that some more sub vocals became better vocalists so that they could handle certain parts of songs. Like Sana got better. So that's someone I really noticed. Momo's still getting kind of pigeonholed in this really nasally JYP style of singing.
Yeah.
So she now is the one that's getting caught out there as like the untalented one, when it's not the case. It's just, hey, I'm getting notes that I shouldn't be able to hit normally, excuse me. But yeah, she's in there singing her nose like this, and then she has to perform the song. Nothing about that is complimentary. Even when I do it, it's just like, girl, please stop. But yeah, I think as a group, vocally, there is room for growth, but they also kind of changed the way that JYP sounded in a good way, I think. Or I don't know. It depends on how you feel about JYP, but I feel like they made JYP a little bit more brighter. Even though I love a good dark concept, I never looked at JYP as like a group that could like stand up against a 21 or an SNSD or FX, so it's kind of one of those things where it's like he didn't have much variety because everyone was very like, everything about R&B has to be angsty and painful and half air, half sound. So I think it was interesting that he introduced them and took a risk with the sound, but also he was not their primary producer. Black Eyed Pills sung was for the first couple of singles. And I didn't get a chance to mention this, but Black Eyed Pilseung doesn't really work with them anymore because he has Stacey. Therefore, the sound that Twice has developed in the beginning of their career is now in Stacey's hands. So it's so interesting to see where else they can go now that JYP kind of dibbles and dabbles and they're getting more American songwriters, so that they're not singing super high. Now they're singing in a range that's more comfortable. So it's really interesting to see how much, when the hands in the pot are removed, how their sound changes. But speaking of hands in pots and such, and too many members and groups, I have to say that I'm super happy that with the next group that there's only 5 members.
Yes. All right. So ITZY debuted February 12th, 2019, and the group's concept is girl crush and high teen, which put together is teen crush. And their lyrics often regard self-confidence. And they debut with Dala Dala, which is a shape-shifting EDM song that quickly climbed the charts all over the world. Video broke the record at the time for the fastest K-pop debut music video to reach 100 million views on YouTube. So the success has kept up with the releases of Wannabe and Not Shy in the Morning and Loco. And the group also recently made their Japanese debut. So yeah, so we had Twice, who is very cheerful, very bright, very girly. Then you have ITZY, who's fierce and cool. And I'm a big fan. They're very genuine. I think all 5 of them, even from the very start, that you could feel the chemistry between the 5. And they all felt like they actually wanted to be doing this style of music. You know, sometimes you see these members where it doesn't feel like they're actually doing music that they like, you know? But that's definitely not the case with this one. I do have to shout out Yeji. She is a star. From the beginning, like such a recognizable face. Every time she goes on stage, when she's in front of a camera, she is just like, she brings it. And you know, we watched all their end of year show performances, you know, of 2021, and they were the highlight of almost all of them. So they're solid. What do you think of ITZY?
Yeah, I like them. I don't know. I don't even know why I got sucked up into the, you know what? I know why, actually. When the teaser for Dala Dala came out and they were doing the dance break, we were like, what is happening? They're on the floor, you know, Yeji had her buns. It was just something about it was just really like, holy crap, what is this? And again, because it came from JYP, a company known for the R&B, a company known for the soul, and then now has become known for the bright songs with Twice, and then the hip hop with GOT7, you're thinking, okay, what else can they do? And then they do this, and it's not completely hip hop. It's not completely pop. So it's so interesting to see that when they do perform their lead singles, how they do make it R&B, how they do make it totally pop, how they even integrate rock. So they are, how you say, like, they're like clay. You can make them into any shape you want them to be. Right now, they're going for the girl crush concept, but I think even you mentioned it, them kind of going into the whole discussion about love is interesting, because when they did Not Shy, it was just like, well, you talking about a guy right now? But it still had that punchiness where it's like, I'm not shy, come get me. You know?
It's so confident.
Yeah. So they give me Miss A, but with the Gen Z energy. That's why I think a lot of younger people like them too, because they may not be in the heels, but they're still giving you, people look at me and they tell me I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Same thing with Bad Girl, Good Girl. You look at me and say I'm a bad person, but I'm not a good girl. I know how to love well. So it's that same kind of concept, but just, you know, reinvented and not in a heel. I like them. And I think they give a lot of girl groups a run for their money, not just because they're fierce, but because they actually sing live, because they actually give you new performances. They're performing the same song for 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes a month, and then still try to give you something new. So I appreciate that. Vocally speaking, though, I'm glad that there's 5 of them, so they get a chance to really develop their vocals. You can actually hear, you can tell them apart. You know, the distinguishableness of this group is great. I will say that they sing extremely nasally, and their songs are sometimes too high for them. which is a little bit I don't want to say annoying, but it's a little unfortunate because A, the older that they're going to get, their voices are going to naturally deepen, A, and then B, they're not going to be sitting there throwing themselves on the floor at 25 years old trying to, so performance wise, great. It's not completely JYP. Like, I don't think JYP when I hear them, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I don't hear it.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. I think it shows that he is kind of aware of the times, that he knows where the industry is going, and he knows what people want. I agree. Vocally, I don't think any of them are truly outstanding, to be honest. But their X factor, which kind of goes back to the whole, I guess, his initial, concepts. Their X factor kind of does kind of make it all okay in a way.
Yes.
But it will be interesting to see how they develop. I will be honest, I actually prefer their first couple singles compared to the more recent ones.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's just me or if that's everyone, but I can kind of feel them maybe losing a little bit of steam, like they kind of don't know what else to do with this teen crush concept. So I think watching them adapt will be interesting as things just kind of develop. And because they're giving these other girl groups a run for their money, a lot of them are now trying to adopt this sound too. So the competition is also higher. So what are they going to do to kind of make sure that they stay up there? I don't know.
No, I agree. I agree. I think ITZY kind of put a battery in a lot of people's backs, because it's just like, girl crush has been done before, but I don't think it was done like this. Before it was like, I'm a pretty girl and I like you, boy. This one's like, I don't care about you. I'm going to do what I want to do. But yeah, also they come from JYP. And I think back to what you were saying about like their sound, even when I listen to their albums, I worry about them too, because the way GOT7 kind of just had like this general, just like swaggy kind of thing. And their songs didn't age well. ITZY's kind of leaning that way, where it's like they have EDM songs that are fun, but do you want to listen to them all the time? Probably not.
No.
They did used to kind of like experiment with rock a little bit in the beginning. So maybe they might kind of go back to it. But yeah, you're right. Because they're putting out so much, what is next for them? But with that being said, I mean, this next group, the next JYP group, it kind of just raises questions like, what's the next sound? What are they going to do that ITZY has not, and that the past girl groups have not? So in July 2021, JYP Entertainment invited the internet to grab their future with a pre-order for a blind package for an unknown group. The pre-order period lasted for a week, and the order surpassed 61,000 copies. The group that is attached to this blind package has been tentatively named JYPn, with the N being an unlimited variable and representing next, now, new. And it has been reported that JYP registered the name NMIXX for said group. And this group of qualifying members consists of Lily, Haewon, Suliyoon, Jinny, Bae, Jiwoo, and Kyujin. Now, this new group, Chris and I have watched all of these videos.
These qualifying videos.
These qualifying videos,
these like teaser, member introduction videos. Yeah.
Yes, we've watched them. And I think that our opinions might be on the opposite end of what the internet might be saying, but let's get into it. So, Chris, what are your thoughts about this tentatively titled NMIXX?
All right. Well, so I actually have no idea what the internet's been saying, so I'm not influenced at all. So that's interesting. You can tell me about it after this. But from watching all of these qualifying videos, so this includes dancing videos, there are singing videos, or kind of just general performance videos, some solo, some in like little two duos and trios. Honestly, I have no idea what to expect. All these teasers feel like we're getting kind of the same vibe as ITZY. We're getting these like hip hop dance covers. We're getting like kind of English like R&B pop song covers. So it almost feels like we're getting that kind of sassy kind of girl power high teen concept again. But I don't see why he would do that. So I'm a little confused by what these teasers are supposed to be giving me. In terms of the members, no one in particular really stands out for me. Jinny, she goes right back to the classic JYP vocal sound. Which, you know, love it or hate it. I would say maybe Jiwoo has the most interesting sound, but I don't know if that was just because she sang the most interesting song.
Oh, right.
You know, I couldn't fully tell that. So yeah, I see the talent as a group. But yeah, I'm really not sure what kind of sound we're gonna get. What are you thinking?
You know, it's tough. I feel like it's interesting that he did this whole blind package thing. I don't think it's him specifically, but I think it's interesting that the company went with the blind package. That speaks a lot to how, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but how people would literally buy into anything if it has his name on it. Which, I mean, it's good for him, but at the same time, it's just like, y'all don't know. Okay. So for me, I feel like they're too young to do the whole girl crush teen. Just the qualifying videos are just too grown for me. Like the whole like swaying and humping the floor in the press cover. I don't like that. I will never like it. Soleil dancing to Full Moon. That song is about intercourse. We're not going to sit there and act like it's not. The fact that she's so young dancing, like, I don't like that. That's another thing too that I've noticed, that that the company's not him. The company itself kind of pushes their younger, pretty members to do questionable things. I don't like it. They're talented. Yeah. They can dance very well. There's some contemporary dancing as well. But overall, vocally, I can't say that I would know what the sound of the group is. They do have Lily, who was a contestant on Superstar K, if I'm not mistaken, and she does have pretty good vocals, but she's been training with JYP for 7 years now, and she was supposed to be with ITZY. So if her sound fits what ITZY kind of sounds like, but she just didn't make it because she didn't fit the look or whatever, then I don't know if we're going to get any kind of vocal difference from ITZY. I'm hoping that they go for a more quote unquote feminine concept where it's like, you know, not lace, but more elegant, like an IVE, where it's still kind of fierce. You have some percussion, but it's still very beautiful at the same time. Because at this point, what else can this group do? Unless they do something retro and go for like a 90s sound. You know,
it's possible that like he's completely throwing us off. And these teaser videos have nothing to do with the sound of the group, and we're gonna get something like crazy different, you know, which would be fun. That'd be fun. I also, you know, going back to right to the beginning, like he was inspired by R&B, like that vocal, that half air, half sound thing is his attempt at soul. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like those influences have pretty much disappeared with ITZY and Twice, and so maybe he's bringing it back with this new girl group. That's possible. So
I'm hoping. We were talking about it earlier, so I'm just hoping that it is, because at this point it's just like everyone's making this bright pop sound. We kind of complained about this with Kepler. There's no soul. No one is no one's giving you stank anymore. And it's a little boring now, because at this point, they look good and they sound okay. I'm not that fond of a lot of their covers because like they don't have that. They don't know what they're singing about, especially that Survivor cover. That was just like, hit these notes that I'm playing on the piano. Ding, 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 ding. Dun, 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 dun. It was just very much like, you know,
exactly.
I didn't like it. Yeah. So no soul, no understanding. It didn't feel like they understood what they were singing about. But I'm just hoping they go back to the R&B sound, that it's not so like cheesy. Yeah, because it's doable. You just have to find a proper sound. Like you can integrate R&B in there without having it sound like Wonder Girls, and then have it sound too cheesy, like you know, like Twice. Because Twice can be a little cheesy sometimes, you know. I think they'll be fine because, I mean, think about the pre-sales. They'll be fine because of that.
Yep, they've got a budget.
Yeah, they got the budget. But do they have the talent to carry on their own sound?
All right, so what do you all think about JYP's girl groups, and what are you expecting from the new one? For our viewers, please let us know your thoughts in the comments below and give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. And for our listeners, please give us a follow and a 5-star rating on your preferred podcast platform. Don't forget to follow us and hit us up at CCTV Pops on all social media. Until next time, that's Shan.
That's good.
And we are CCTV.
CCTV. Speaking of putting out more groups, and wow, that's terrible.
Speaking of putting out.